Dudes and dudettes, we're back again, and today we're going to start another segment, and we're going to see how it goes. We're going to start something we like to call Whatever Cast, where we'll bring subjects to the table, we'll bring potential guests in, and we'll just talk about it. So today's topic is comics, and we have our guest here, Philip, which is Bryce's cousin.
No.
And
we aren't related.
Not related?
No.
What? What the fuck, man? Okay, well, I guess not then.
No. He's friends with my cousin, and that's how I know him.
We're probably related somewhere along the line.
Whatever. I completely misunderstood. Okay, whatever. So, Bryce's friend Philip. So, we're going to bring some comics to the table today, and we'll let Philip here take the reins for the first. I guess always is first, so...
Yeah.
What comics have you brought for us to see today?
Okay, so if you can't tell from my shirt, one of my favorites of all time is Wolverine. So I brought his first title book. This is the first book that he had, that they did of Wolverine that was just titled Wolverine. He had appeared in other stuff, but he'd never had his own book titled Wolverine.
He debuted in the Hulk.
As
a villain originally.
Yeah, like 158 or something, like 157 or something like that. He was in three issues back to back to back. But if you've seen the movie The Wolverine, it was loosely based on this. It takes place in Japan. It's pretty much just Wolverine kicking the crap out of ninjas. I think he even fights a demon at some point.
I've honestly
really
never
cool.
read the original story.
It's amazing. You can borrow this if you want. It's awesome.
I might have to take you up on that.
Yeah, it originally was just 4 issues because they wanted to see how well a Wolverine-led comic would do, and it did extraordinarily well. And so now we have he's I think the fourth best-selling superhero in the world behind Spider-Man, Superman, and Batman. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's accurate.
That makes sense.
I know he's the second best selling at Marvel, which has to put him in the top 5. So yeah, incredibly popular. Especially he's got with the release of Logan now. He's insanely popular. Since we had the first standalone Wolverine, I brought the last standalone Wolverine that we had. The covers on these, if you can see, there are holographic, and they are gorgeous. The art on these. This is Charles Soule and Stephen McNiven, which are 2 of my favorite writers and artists. They did a little bit with some Spider-Man. They've done some Captain America, and they've done some Wolverine. And so, yeah, gorgeous books. It's only 4 issues again, just like his first run by himself was 4 issues, and so they did 4 issues with this one. And,
was it really only 4 issues?
Wow.
I thought it was longer than that.
No, they did, yeah. So they came out with Death of Wolverine, and so he loses. I won't spoil it because you should go read it, but he loses his healing factor, and there's about 25 issues of Wolverine leading up to Death of Wolverine.
That's right. He goes to hell and stuff like that.
It's all kinds of crazy stuff, and it's really, really good.
I read Wolverine in Hell. I read that. That was a really good story.
Oh, okay. I've never read that one, but
his body gets possessed by demons, and he's fighting his way out of hell.
Wow.
With no adamantium, no healing, nothing.
Sounds like something Wolverine would do. Yeah. So he loses his healing factor, which was really, really cool because. That's always been his defining thing, is he's immortal and unstoppable. And so Wolverine, for the first time ever in Death of Wolverine, faces mortality, and so he realizes he's actually scared to die because he's never had to think about death. And so he actually has a conversation with death. Death is a character in the Marvel universe, so he has a conversation with death where death pretty much says, he's like, look, Wolverine's like, I've done a lot of good too, because she's talking about all the bad stuff he's done, and she's like, yeah, she's like, not really, because heroes run into battle knowing they could die. She's like, you've never ever had to worry about that. She's like, so you've never sacrificed anything because your life's never been on the line. And he was like, oh man. And so now that he's lost his healing factor, he pretty much goes out on this quest to do good. He said, if I'm going to die, I want to do good before I die. I want to clean my name. And so he goes out on this awesome mission to clean the name of Wolverine in case he dies. And like I said, I won't spoil anything, but 4 issues. You can still buy them. It's in trade paperback or trade hardback, and it is still to this day, it came out 2 years ago. I've been collecting comics for 3 years, and I have a ton of comics now. And this is still my favorite thing that I've ever read by Marvel. The Death of Wolverine is very beautifully written. It's the only comic book. I did not know comic books could make me tear up until I read this, and then it was just so well done that I shed a little tear. A little tear came to my eye when I read the end of it.
I can definitely feel it. That's something that I've read, and it's honestly one of the best stories that I've ever gotten into. And honestly, that's what got me into probably my favorite character, Old Man Logan, which, for those of you who don't know, it's 50 years into the future Wolverine, and he's lost he still has his healing factor. It's just slowed down. He's
severely limited.
He's centuries year old at this point. It's a world where the villains won. He's the last of the heroes, except for a blind Hawkeye is still around. Hulk is the main villain. It's an incredible story that it really symbolizes how dark a good guy's universe can get. And I love that. And so I think it was last year they started the series. They went off and they gave him his own series, which I have all except for the first issue.
Which was great because I read, as soon as I got into comics, they came out with Death of Wolverine, and my two favorite characters are Spider-Man and Wolverine. So when I got into comics, they were like, hey, Death of Wolverine. I was like, oh, great. As soon as I show up to the party, all the cool guys leave. And so I was like super bummed. And then they announced Old Man Logan, and I love the Old Man Logan run, the original Old Man Logan run. So I was really excited about this, and it has not disappointed one bit.
This is probably quite possibly my favorite cover ever, if you can see that. The whole thing with the Old Man Logan run is he got sent back to the regular Marvel Universe. It takes place with the regular story, but his family is gone. The post-apocalypse that he lived in is over, and he's in the past 50 years back. He knows what's going to happen, but it never does. So he's like preparing for it, but it never happens. And it really is one of the darkest stories I've ever read, to be honest.
Yeah, number 7 in that is one of my favorite single issues of any series ever. The art in that book is amazing.
That giant glass screen with the skull.
It's his skull with like all of his villains falling out of his like mouth.
I want a poster
really
of that.
Cool. I do too. It was really cool. The art was amazing.
That is honestly what got me into this series, and the art overall is probably my favorite art in any comic book ever.
It's really it's amazing.
And the thing with Old Man Logan is it led into the inspiration for the new movie Logan, and that is such a great way of displaying how you can take dark material from pages of a comic book or a book and take it to the screen. And there's so many examples of that popping up nowadays. Like, I don't know.
That sounds awfully familiar to something else dark that I'm familiar with. Something that's dear to me, and that's The Walking Dead. I have enjoyed The Walking Dead for a very long time.
The comics are great.
Whenever the comics first rolled around, I didn't jump onto the train until probably, 13 of the combined issues that have like 5 of them were already out. So there was a lot of them out already. They didn't actually start the TV show until, probably until they were in almost the hundreds.
I thought the series was over whenever the show came on.
It was somewhere in the 90s to the 100s. I think they're still working on it too.
Yeah, they are.
They might be pretty close to the end as far as like the comics go. But with the comics though there's a lot of really good artwork done with it. It's a very interesting art style too, because it's there's a lot of heavy little detail in it, and the way that the shading is done in it is always interesting to me. I don't know. It really caught my eye. That I've always been a zombie fan too. Like Resident Evil. I've been a Resident Evil fan since 2. My dad played 2 on the PlayStation, and I remember watching him over his shoulder playing, and then I played everything from that and beyond. So it came at the right time, because it was right in the rut, right around whenever 5 came around, because 5 was kind of a train wreck. But that's for another video game talk day. But with this, the story was pulled together really well. It's arguably the best, and I know that anybody that's like a hardcore, like old school zombie film person is going
like
to
George
say
Romero.
absolutely not. But this is the best interpretation of a zombie scenario that you could possibly have, I believe. This is as close as it gets. Like slow moving zombies. It was obviously caused by something that's much bigger than them, and even to this day in the story, they don't understand how it happened, but they know that it happened, and they just learn how to survive around it. Mm-hmm. They learned how to build themselves around it. It was going from bare nothing into building a community, like the last people on Earth, like less than a population of a small town with like 4 houses on a block. They have next to no people, but they've managed to come together in a time from very different and vast backgrounds too. That's another thing that's interesting is the way that they interpreted like the whole area, like all the United States, different areas where people would come together, and I mean, it's just it was pulled together in such a manner that it was as real as you can get to like a zombie scenario without it going like people like the zombies like running really fast or having super mutant powers. It was a pure numbers over people, like thousands to 1 ratio whenever it comes to zombies to people. And I also like that they don't refer to them as zombies either. They refer to them as walkers and biters, and they have their own names. It seems kind of silly to me sometimes whenever they have a new zombie story. They're like, oh, well, there's zombies. How do they know what to call it? In that universe, technically something like that wouldn't really have a definition.
Like zombies are a pre-existing thing already in zombie movies and TV.
Exactly.
But in The Walking Dead, zombies aren't an unknown cultural phenomenon, so they don't call these things zombies because they don't know what it is.
They don't have any idea what to call them. And even whenever they bring into the CDC, like the whole not understanding the disease, and the one person that might have any glimpse of a chance of trying it completely fails out, and he's just like, well, that's it. I guess I'm dying then. I guess that's the death of me. Well, there goes a really smart scientist that could have at least had some valuable information. I mean, at least the knowledge of medicine would have helped. But along with going with weird, crazy universes and weird, crazy places, another one of my favorite series is Rick and Morty. And the Rick and Morty series obviously became a big hit in pop culture through the TV shows
It's crazy
themselves.
how it's blown up.
And it was just like overnight. And it's the funniest thing. It's a rags to riches story. Because in season 1, nobody cared about Rick and Morty in season 1. Season 1 only had 10 episodes because of that. They're like, well, we don't really know how it's going to go. So season 1 came through. Everybody was kind of like, riding the tailcoats of it. Like, I don't really care about it. And even I was one of those people. It's like, I don't know how I feel about it. From outside perspective, it looks retarded. It looks dumb. It looks stupid. But I watched the season. I watched more of it. I learned more about Justin Roiland, the creators behind it, and the story and the sources behind it, and the how Rick and Morty became to be, and I fell in love with it. Now I'm obsessed with it. I have every comic up to date. I have vinyl pops of them. I have both of the seasons on Blu-ray. I've got the Rick and Morty trading card game thing that they do with the crossover episode with the parasites. Like the Total Recall is what it is, where they have all the crazy characters come in, and it's really fun. And it's blown up so quickly. That's why I was like, I need to stay on top of it, because I feel like this is one of those series like The Simpsons and American Dad and Family Guy that's runs forever. And eventually people are going to be like, I want to see issue 1 of that. And even though it has no association with Adult Swim whatsoever, Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon just kind of decided what's like, well, we have to go to Cartoon Network and Adult Swim about this, because we can't just have people making comics with like direct translation as far as like artwork. Like the artwork is fantastic. It's not the original creators at all. It's a different company.
But it looks so similar.
But it looks similar, and even so, in the series itself, which I'm not gonna spoil it, because it's one of those things you've got to read it. It's excellent. It sort of kind of like sidelines a lot of the stories that go with Rick and Morty. There's a lot of references to the series itself in it, which a lot of comics, like if there's a series and there's comics, sometimes there'll be a lot of differences in between them. But with this, it's just enough that it runs co-linear with the story already, but it branches off in its own thing.
Didn't they do a spin-off comic series with Mr. Poopy Butthole?
Yes, they did. I don't have it here. It's in the other room, but it's Mr. Poopy Butthole Superstar, and it's just adventures. It's a little.
I love that name.
It's a little.
I absolutely love that name.
It's a little on the cartoonier side for the comics. The art that was done with it is a little bit more bubbly and big and happy and silly. But it's basically Mr. Poopy Butthole going on adventures with Summer and just taking her along for the ride and going through all these places. Come to find out that Mr. Poopy Butthole used to be like the emperor of like a secret race of other Mr. Poopy Butthole
There's
beings.
more of him?
Yes. In that alternate scenario.
I kind of want to read that.
It's only a 5-part series too. There's only 5 comics to it.
That sounds cool.
So yeah, if you want to read that, it's really good.
Who published that, actually?
The publisher is Oni Press.
Oni Press?
Yes.
I'm not really familiar with them much, are you?
I mean, obviously, I don't know a whole lot about comics as it is, but Oni Press is not a super high known company. Like there's
They are to Marvel or DC.
They apparently had their hands
Scott
in
Pilgrim.
Scott Pilgrim.
Oh, okay.
So Oni Press did that. Let's see. Is there anything else I noticed back here? No.
That's a real big claim to fame whenever you make Scott Pilgrim.
But Scott Pilgrim, yeah, I mean, with that, which I mean, I guess I can kind of see the way that the art styles could be similar. I don't know if you can see that or not. That Scott Pilgrim comic, and then I'll just open up some random page. Oh boy. To this, and then in comparison for the art, I mean, there's some similarities there. I can definitely see that. Of course, I mean, just because they're the press company doesn't necessarily mean that they're the creators either. It doesn't mean it's the artists.
Right.
But usually whenever they have a lot of companies, they typically go for the same kind of like comic style, like the same kind of like art style and
humor
and themes and everything.
I love looking into who publishes what, because there aren't a whole lot of things out there that aren't your Marvels and your DCs and stuff like that.
Exactly. There's a lot more to it.
Vertigo is one that I'm starting to really look into, and
Dark Horse is another one, right?
Dark Horse is speaking of which ties into what else I brought. I brought some Hellboy with me because I'm a big Hellboy fan. Actually, they kind of take the darker step that DC doesn't, which DC takes a dark step on a lot of things.
Yeah. That's one thing I'll make a note of real quick. Is that's one thing I can say that I have a little bit of favoritism to DC. Is there's a lot of darkness to a lot of their characters and their heroes. Like, whereas Marvel's like more of like the happy take on it. It's like, oh, Spider-Man got bit by a spider, but it turns out it's in a more positive manner. Whereas like
Batman.
With Batman, yeah, his parents die.
And Batman stays dark.
Well, I mean, yeah, Spider-Man's got a happy feel, but that's not a happy story. His parents are dead, his uncle dies, his first love dies, his second love dies.
How he gets his powers is kind of weird, but then like the rest of his origin
story
is
heartbreaking.
Dark. It is.
It's a dark story told in a
goofy
scenario.
In a more upbeat way. Yeah. They don't focus on the dark stuff, whereas
they sugarcoat it just a little bit more than like how they would do. They would approach it on a DC.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, everyone seems to love Batman. I do too, but he's the darkest. Probably not.
They call him the Dark
hero,
Knight for a reason,
right?
Yeah,
but it's almost a joke now. Is like how dark they always make his story. Like he never just has
a
good, nice, happy story. It's always so dark.
I kind of blame that on the Christian Bale movies, the Dark Knight and all that, because that's where the whole "I'm Batman, I got deep voice, I yell at people." That's where that whole thing came from, where people started to make a joke out of Batman.
Talking like he's got his chin in his chest.
Honestly, I hate those movies.
The only good one was the second one, and that's only because Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker was amazing.
I liked the theme of the first one.
Nothing else in those movies were that great.
I'm going to get some flack for this. Heath Ledger is overrated as Joker. Jack Nicholson's better.
Jack Nicholson is better. I'm kind of biased to Jack Nicholson.
This is the first time I've been in a room with people that agree with me on that. I love Jack Nicholson as Joker as well. I think we remember Heath Ledger's performance this sounds terrible.
It's
but
because of his death.
It's because he died right after. And so since he died, we took a good performance and we elevated it to
and
this,
it's not like he didn't do a good job.
He
did a great job.
He did, but
he's not the best.
But an Oscar performance for that role? No. That was not an Oscar performance. He won the Oscar because it was a great performance and he died shortly after.
Yeah.
But you go to Halloween stores or stores that sell Halloween costumes every year. They still have Heath Ledger Joker. Did you realize that was 10 years ago? The movie came out almost 10 years ago.
And I actually went as the Joker for Halloween a couple years ago. Were you there at that party that I had where I was the Joker?
No, I remember seeing the pictures, but I wasn't there.
Well, the costume that I bought was actually a Heath Ledger costume, but I tried to modify it to make it not. And it actually came out looking more like a Jack Nicholson Joker, but it still had Heath Ledger's suit. It was still his suit, but the suit is so trademarked that you almost can't screw it up except for Jared Leto. Yeah. To be honest.
I like the raggediness that the Jack Nicholson take on the Joker had. It's more like it fits the psychopath feel more.
Yes.
He really sells the crazy part.
And the psychopaths
his name is the Joker
really
fits.
Yeah, the psychopaths really define Batman's villains. And actually, I brought a third thing with me other than that Hellboy stuff. But the current Batman series right now is honestly my favorite thing that DC's doing. As overrated as Batman can get, this is almost tear-jerking at certain points.
Wow.
Right now, he's going back up against Bane, which Bane, in my opinion, is the greatest villain in all of comics. I will make that argument all day.
Bane is pretty good.
Bane is strong, but most importantly, he is smarter than Batman.
That's
he
exactly
is smarter than Batman,
yeah.
and there's no way that anybody can argue that with me.
He's strong and he's intelligent. He's smart about how he does things and how he goes about the ways that he pulls his plan together, whereas like a lot of them are just like, we'll pull this together. If it works, it does. If it doesn't, oh well, everything will blow up in flames.
And there's actually a spot in this issue, because he started a war with Bane for some spoilers that I don't want to go into, but there's actually a spot in this that I love so much, and it really defines whenever you think about Batman's villains, you think like, oh, there's the Joker, there's the Scarecrow, there's the Riddler. They're kind of campy. They're kind of over the place.
Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze. Actually, he was a doctor originally, but he stepped down to Mr. Freeze as his crime name. Why would someone in their self-right mind do that?
Why wouldn't you say Dr. Freeze was taken? I don't know.
But
why couldn't he have been like Doc CO2 or something like that? like Dr. Nitrogen or something.
It may not actually be in this issue. It might be in the one before it. But there's a part in this series where he's beating the ever-living hell out of Batman, and he says, I am not a clown. I am not a scarecrow. I am not some trickster. I am not... And he just goes on, naming off these villains, and he says, I am Bane, and he just smashes him into the ground.
That's pretty cool.
He is incredibly intelligent. His first appearance, he figured out who Batman was. So that was...
neat.
That's crazy.
I see. I'm not a DC guy. I'm definitely Marvel. I don't read anything from DC, but I mean, I know, enough about Batman and Superman. I never knew though that Bane was smart. I didn't know he was known for his intelligence.
He figured out who Bruce Wayne was from the get-go.
Wow.
Like when he first appears, he just says, "I want to fight the Batman," and so he comes to Gotham. He figures out who he is. He finds the Batcave. He waits there for him, and he breaks his back. That's how he shows up, and he introduces himself.
Wow.
He sets up this whole thing to get Batman distracted so that he can weaken him and then take him out.
I have to admit, crazy. I like it when Batman loses.
Oh,
because his fans hate to admit that he can lose. Because for some reason, this is going to make a lot of people mad, but for some reason, they think just because he's smart, he can beat anybody. Like, oh, well, he's smarter than Superman. Oh, okay. He can just wear kryptonite armor. Okay, well, Superman can just stand a mile away and shoot him with his laser eyes.
Yeah.
Like
it depends on the scenario with that fight.
And like,
honest.
yeah, okay, yeah, but like, you put Albert Einstein in the ring with Mike Tyson, and Mike Tyson's going to knock his head off.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care how smart Albert Einstein is.
Yeah, you're right.
You give Albert Einstein 2 weeks to prepare for that fight, knowing everything he does about physics, everything that he, taught of physics. He's still going to lose a fight to Mike Tyson. I love how... I'm a huge Sherlock Holmes fan, and one of the comics I brought was actually Batman and Sherlock Holmes team up in an issue.
Really?
Wow,
I actually have it with me over there. It's really cool. I love him because he's like that smart that Batman is, that everyone loves about Batman, where he can predict things just based off of balance of probability, and just because he's so smart, he can prepare for fights. And Sherlock Holmes does that really well. But what I love about Sherlock Holmes is there are so many times. Well, not so many times, but there are a few times when he's so smart, he can look at every aspect of a fight and step back and go, I can't win. He's like, it doesn't matter how smart I am, I can't win. And like, I've never heard of that, and maybe there is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never heard of that with Batman. And obviously the superhero is always, he's never just going to be like, oh, I can't win. But he's always going to step in and fight because, he's a hero, he's the good guy. But like, Batman fans' argument is always, well, he's so much smarter than him, he could win. It's like, yeah, but I mean, he can't push the earth off of its axis like Superman can.
Yeah,
he's not going to beat Superman in a fight.
There is actually one scenario where Batman goes in knowing he's not going to win, and it's The Dark Knight Returns. That big fight in the end where he's up against Superman and the entire United States government.
Oh yeah.
He loses.
Yeah.
But in the same way, without spoiling it, he wins at the same time. But the actual fist fight, he loses. He gets the ever-living tar beat out of him for good reason.
And that's when I say
and that's
Batman would lose to
ever.
Superman. That's what I mean is in a fist fight, just a pure look. If we're talking war,
Batman wins.
Batman wins the war.
Yeah.
But if we're talking a fight, Batman loses 12 times out of 10. He's not going to beat
You
Superman.
put him in the
a
boxing
fight.
ring.
Okay, let's pretend. Okay, Superman, he has an enormous glaring weakness. So maybe 1 time out of 10 he could win. But if you put Batman up against someone like, I can't think of anyone from DC, so I'm going to borrow from Marvel. You put Batman up against Thor or Spider-Man, even for that matter. Someone who's not even as strong as Superman. You put Batman up against Spider-Man, I think he loses every time. Spider-Man has fought Batman. The Green Goblin is Batman. He's a rich guy with a lot of gadgets, and Spider-Man wins every time. So, against Superman, yeah, because he has that weakness. But if Superman didn't have the weakness to kryptonite, Batman would have no answer for Superman. He wouldn't be able to do anything. So, but I love Batman. I have to say that at the end, so no one out there hates me. I love Batman. I hate that everyone thinks he's invincible because he's smart.
On that note, I think that we've had a lot of really good discussions today about
we
comics.
probably pissed people off a good bit.
Probably.
Heath Ledger is overrated.
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson, number one. That should be the name of this video.
Yes.
Jack Nicholson, number one.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson, number one.
Well, we've had a lot of fun tonight. It was a lot. I learned a lot because, like I said, I'm more of a DC guy, and I learned a lot from Marvel.
We can train you.
So it was really nice learning a lot with that, and obviously with the Rick and Morty comics, kind of helping me.
Yeah, I definitely want to
way.
read those.
Yeah, I will actually let you borrow this.
I will take this
because I have another one of them, and you take better care of anything more than anything because I know that you enjoy your comics and everything. So yeah, it's not a problem. Well, it was really great meeting you, Philip, and I'm glad that we had you in here. So
yes, thank you for coming, sir.
It's my pleasure.
Maybe we'll have you back sometime.
Definitely.
I would love to.
Whenever we have some more comic talk to come out and everything, and we bring some other issues in, we'll
Sounds great.
set it up. We'll talk it out. So thanks again, guys. Catch us again on whatever cast, and we'll be posting most Wednesdays.
Yeah. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Of course, and make sure you hit that bell icon, the little bell icon down below. Make sure, because you'll know. If you're sending YouTube, it'll pop up on your phone. So
and also just let us know what you want to see us talk about, because whatever cast is going to be coming monthly?
Yeah.
It sounds like a
We'll
plan.
do monthly, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, and like with Philip here and with Big Red and Victor, who we've had on the show before, we have some gameplay coming out with our friend Damon. Let us know out of our friends who you want to see come back.
Yep.
So we always love to have them.
All right, thanks again so much for watching, everybody. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, comment. Make sure you let us know, and don't forget, we'll see you next round.
Do you like comics? We like comics. Leave some comments down below about your favorites.
While you're at it, on the left is our last video. If you like cartoons, this one's for you. On the right is our spicy pepper experience. Watch us die in agony. And thanks again so much for watching, and until next time, stay classy, whatever crew.